the basis for our philosophy is the belief that every individual has come to this earth for a reason, a unique and special reason. This contribution is actually the fingerprint of your individual spirit and soul. No other person can offer what you came to offer and share it in the manner that the exact way that you came to share it. Now I invite Ajita to take over this part of the program as she invites all our chief guests on to the stage.
Hello, check.
Thank you, Geeta. I'd like to invite our guests for the evening. I'd like to start with Major General Ian Cardozo, our chief guest for the evening. He has been one of the first cadets to win medals at the NDA. Wounded in the War of 1971, he overcame the limitations imposed by losing of a leg and became the first war-disabled officer to command an infantry brigade. He has been working in the area of disabilities for 18 years now and is presently the chairperson of Rehabilitation Council of India. Please put your hands together to invite Mr. Ian Cardozo up here on the dais. While he takes his seat, let me invite Mr. Dalton, our guest of honor for the evening. Yes, Mr. Dalton, yeah. He is the chief of the consular section in American Consulate since August 2008. A career member of the Senior Foreign Service, he joined in the US Department of State in 1987 and has served in many countries. He has brilliant academic qualifications from renowned universities and knows an unbelievable range of foreign languages. Thank you, sir. I'd like to invite our special guest, Amanda Murphy. Mrs. Murphy is the founder and chief functionary of Teddy Exports and the Teddy Trust. Yeah, please do come on the stage. Her company supplies a host of products like cotton bags and rubber wood boxes to international markets. All this is done engaging the local community. She has thus been instrumental in changing the quality of life in the small South Indian village, Tirumangalam, in Madurai district. She has won several awards for her contribution to society. We'll hear more about this as we talk to her shortly. Our special guest again for the evening is Swami Pranavananda Brahmendra Avadhuta, alias Christoph Faber. Swamiji came to India 38 years ago. The company he has founded, Fashions International, has garnered a huge business in France and other European markets. He also operates a number of cloth mills in southern India. In an unusual blend of practical and spiritual, he runs an ashram for Hindu holy men about 400 kilometers from Chennai. He has seen that there is drinking water, schooling, and public health facilities which have come up in the area of his ashram. Thank you, Swamiji. I'd like to ask our very own founder director, Dr. Vasudha, to also join us on the stage. Dr. Vasudha started a school with only 10 children. Thanks to her pulse on the need of the hour, we today offer a host of relevant services and cater to over 4,500 special children across urban and rural Tamil Nadu. Little wonder then that she was bestowed the Mother Teresa Award in Los Angeles by the Indo-US Business Forum. Her, her hunger for learning, openness to new approaches, and warmth towards everyone she meets makes her truly a very unique person. Thanks, Vasudha. We have, do we have mic there? Okay. We have with us all these personalities here who are really models of strength and courage. What we have done is we would ask each one a question. And I'd really like you to hear the question carefully because the experiences and stories these people have to tell are truly, truly inspiring. I'd like to address my question first to Major General Ian Cardozo. Sir, you come from an army background and you have faced severe injuries at the war. But the kind of attitude and approach that you lead your life with is really amazing. Could you tell us what kind of shift has happened before and after your war experience?
Ladies and gentlemen, I feel humbled by this tremendous performance which we have just witnessed, and I'll try to cut it short. When I got wounded in battle, my first reaction was, I don't have to compete anymore. I am out of the rat's race. But the challenges which came thereafter put me back on track again. The army told me that now that you've lost a leg, you cannot command troops, and now you will be a staff officer, which basically means that you are now a babu. I resented this, and I felt that this was not acceptable, that I had a lot to offer. I was not disabled, really, and I felt I could do as much, if not better, than people with two legs. So I fought the system for 7 years. When I asked my army commander, the army commander is a very, very senior officer, and I said, I belong to the Gurkhas, the Gurkha regiment, and he happened to be a Gurkha also. So when I said I wanted to command a battalion, he said, no way. So I said, why? He said, because the doctors tell me that you cannot command troops. So I said, who the hell are the doctors to tell me what I can do or what I cannot do? And so I decided to prove that I was as good physically as anybody else. I used to get up early in the morning at 4 o'clock, go for a 10-mile route march and run. And I ran so much that the metal bolt which fixed my foot with my leg one day broke. And I fell down and my foot was in my boot. So I picked up my boot and I flagged the vehicle down. He said, what is your problem? I said, my foot's fallen off. So his eyes became, he said, what do you mean? I said, I have an artificial leg. So anyway, so then I told the army, I appeared for a battle physical efficiency test, and to cut a long story short, I ran the 2-mile test and I left 6 officers with 2 legs behind me. And then I said, can I command troops now? The Vice Chief of Army Staff said, no, you come with me to J&K. I went to J&K He went to a mountain top in a chopper, and my friend was commanding the unit. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, I climbed 6,000 feet. And when the vice chief came down in his chopper, he said, "How have you come here?" I said, "I climbed." He said, "You can climb?" I said, "What I cannot do lies in the minds of my senior officers." So then he passed me on to the chief, and the chief took me to Ladakh, and I climbed over snow and ice. And then he came back and said on my file, "Yes, give this officer a battalion and other war wounded officers who are not taking shelter of their wounds." So I became the guinea pig which opened promotion to officers of the Indian Army, and 4 of them became army commanders, and 1 of them was minus both legs. And then I went to my battalion, Gurkha battalion, which was in Rajasthan. Rajasthan is where the sand, it's all desert. And I was very happy to be back. And I took 2 bottles of Scotch whiskey and I said, "I've come back." But mine is a very highly decorated battalion. It has 4 Victoria Crosses, 4 Mahavir Chakras, Vir Chakras, Sena medals. And they thought, "Oh my God, we've got a commanding officer with 1 leg. How can he command this battalion?" So at about 12 o'clock at night, I said, "What's the program for tomorrow?" And they said, "We are going on a 40-kilometer route march. You can come in a jeep." So I knew if I sat in that jeep, I could never command these troops. So at 5 in the morning, and I was very, very shaken. I said, "Here am I telling everybody else that I'm as good as anybody else, I'm better than people with 2 legs. And now, can I do this 40-kilometer march in desert sands?" But I told myself, if I sit in that jeep, I can never command the battalion, and I must be honest with myself, and I must either succeed or fail, but I have to accept the test. So I marched those 40 kilometers, and at the end of it all, at 5:30 in the evening, it's the meaning of empowerment, the meaning of confidence. I then realized that nothing could stop me. And I called my company commanders who were, who felt that this guy is amputee and he's disabled. And I told them, I said, "Gentlemen, if you think you've tested me, forget it. I've tested myself. From now onwards, you will come to my standards." And then we went for a picnic to the sea at Kovalam, and a 12-year-old boy was drowning. I happened to be a very good swimmer, and the others were not so confident. This boy was pulled out. He was about half a kilometer into the sea, and I had to be launched into the sea after I took off my leg. And I went, by this time he was about half a kilometer away, and I brought him back. And after that, the army has never looked back as far as war disabled people are concerned. And the last incident was when I was chairman of RCI, and they said, "Will you come as a chief guest for the national swimming competition for persons who are disabled?" I said, "Okay." And then I asked myself, "Ian, why are you going as a chief guest? Why don't you take part?" So I rang back and I said, "Can I take part?" "No, you can't take part." I said, "Why?" He said, at that time I was 65. He says, "You're 65 years old. You will be competing with people who are 19 to 35. I said, "That's not your problem. That's my problem." Then they said, "Who will come as the chief guest?" I said, "That's your problem." So they got somebody else, and I went there, and I competed in, I wonder if how many of you know much about swimming. I competed in the butterfly event and the backstroke. But before I went there, I just could do 25 meters. and the race was for 50 meters. And I said, how will I do this? But they tell us in the army that battles are won or lost in the mind before they are won or lost on the ground. And I took part in these two events, and I think God was with me. I got 2 silver medals.
Oh.
So it's not that in the army we don't blow our own trumpet, we don't beat our own drum, but just to tell you that the children, today I've seen such a lot of love between the teachers, the staff, and our wonderful, wonderful children. And I think everyone has a right to dream, and everyone has a right to have the opportunity to realize his dreams. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, sir. I can only salute the spirit. I think it's amazing how you've taken the whole shift from where it was and to get the whole world to look at things so differently. Thank you very much for sharing your views.
Sorry to interrupt, but teachers, I know the children are very, very restless. If there's anybody who is really very restless, we'll change our plan and those teachers can bring the child down and hand them over to the parents very silently. Thank you.
My next question is to Mr. Brian Dalton. Sir, we work with children with disabilities and children with whom we have communication differences. That's what we work towards. You've been in many countries and you also work towards building bridges of communication each time as a foreign embassy when you represent. What's the mindset you go with to the countries? And I know you've learned a lot of languages and so on, but we'd like to understand from you, how have you gone about doing this?